We're going to go now live to New Haven, where your reporter, Matt McFarland, has more details on this. Matt, what can you tell us?
Hi there, Renee. Well, here in the Elm City, they have hundreds of these cameras. There are a number of them right here at this intersection. I'll step out of the way. Photojournalist Corey Peck can show you. You can see those cameras, including some of those automated license plate readers. New Haven's mayor says they've been key in solving a number of crimes, including murders. But across the state, plenty of folks have concerns about privacy and what protections are in place, and that includes the governor. Last week, Governor Ned Lamont calling on the Connecticut Post Officer Standards and Training Council to conduct a review when it comes to safety cameras and those automated license plate readers, even urging cities and towns to pause installing any new equipment until Post develops some guidance. Now, he says he understands technology is intended to keep towns and roads safe, but there needs to be clear policies in regards to that data that's being collected, specifically who has access to it and how it can be used. Now, cameras, they've been a hot button issue in a number of towns. Killingworth, Windsor, they both took cameras down. We've seen packed public hearings in Milford and Cheshire where residents there voiced their concerns. The governor asking for that review, requesting guidance from the Police Standards and Training Council within the next 30 days, along with recommendations when it comes to how it can be used here in that state. And of course, we'll have more on the story coming up tonight on Eyewitness News at 5. Your reporter live in New Haven, Matt McFarland, Channel 3, Eyewitness News.
All right, thanks, Matt, very much. A story we'll certainly be watching.